What's going on, guys? BLAZIN here, and welcome to another Sunday stream with the Knights of Teleria. Today, we've got my, I guess my two co-hosts. They've been on every week, so it's, I guess not just my show, it's their show too. So, we got Mr. JL Star 3. Jay, how are you doing today? Nice. And we got Thule. Thule, how are you doing? That's the big question, right? Whose dream are we living? Um, Someone who wants to be you. That's someone that you want to be, right? I guess. Um, so before we get everything kicking off, I want to ask: are you a pancakes or waffles guy, Jay? Okay, okay. Thule, what about yourself? Okay, okay, okay. For me, I'm a pancakes guy. Um, I've been one of my customers gave me like I want to say like 10 cases of like the Kojak pancake mix. So like every day for like the past month and a half, I've been having pancakes with my kids. So um, pancakes is where it's at. All right. So today, give a little bit of breakdown of what we're planning on doing. We're going to talk about Call of the Arbiter episode 1 and 2. Um, give our thoughts. You know what we expect to see in the next episode coming up. Have we been satisfied? And we're going to talk Forge Pass because this one's an interesting one. I've been kind of racking my brain about what champions are going to fit best for it and all that, and was it really worth to have? So, first we'll start with Call of the Arbiter. I mean, we're up to 2 episodes now, right? First episode was Gaelic, and man, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, but I'm gonna start with Thule first. Thule, what were your thoughts about it, man? What did you think? Right. Hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. The 6 minute thing is kind of like I think they're doing a great job with them, but I would definitely love to see them be more like an arcane type where it's a full fledged episode. But Jay, what about you?
So yeah, I mean, right from the get-go, we're just thrown into it, and we're like, okay, cool. So the Arbiter's calling these champions to stop something or just to see what's going on. So we're introduced to the four main starters. So I saw Galex, and I was like, all right, Galex he's been the show front for Raid, right, in all the ads and in their actual like images for mobile and stuff like that. So people know that champion. So I was super stoked to see what his like how it would work out. It introduced you saw a lot of uncommons and commons. You saw other champions in that faction in behind like in the actual episode, which was nice.
Waterboy.
But like Warboy getting one shotted. Um but like yeah, like just like Otuli said, it's just too it was too short. I was like 6, not even like 10, 15. It's 6. Really quick. But yeah, some people have been talking about Artac's arm. They're gonna sell it as a skin. So, being gone, so we'll see about that.
Apparently they can't hear me, by the way, Blazin. But they can hear
Uh,
Jay.
Yeah, can you guys hear him now? I think I fixed my audio issue. It was coming in through my headset, not my headset. It was coming in through my monitor instead of my AirPods. So you guys can hear him now. Cool. All right. um, that's interesting. coming in as a skin with the arm chopped off. Let's take a second. Would you buy it, Thule?
What's the rest of it look like? I guess like he's a really cool champion. If they want $10 for it, sure. If they want $30 or $50 for it, like
yeah. I think you may have cut off. Jay, what about you? Would you buy it? Oh, there we go. He's back. He's back. Go ahead, Thule.
Yeah, only.
Sorry, Jay. Didn't mean to cut you off. Thule, go ahead and finish off because you cut out a little bit. Nope, he's still out. Okay, Jay.
Okay. So yeah, like Thule said, if it was only like, $10, $15, because when they originally first, they were trying to sell us $50 skins, which is nuts. Like not even League of Legends has that, So, and I think they saw what they were doing, and the reason why we haven't seen that many new skins is I think they were expecting people to go crazy for the $50 and $30 ones. Well, maybe if there was lore already in the game, like what they're doing now with Call the Arbiter, people would have maybe been a little bit more inclined to spend on something the champion they really feel close with or seen something with, maybe. But now, like there's no way. If they try to do another 50, 40, I think they learned their lessons from their analytics. They're probably gonna go 20, 15. Would I do it at that point? I mean, he's a very powerful free champion, but you have to be sold a little bit more. Like, maybe if there's more stuff with Artak and the story and stuff like that, maybe I'd be more inclined to. But I think $10, $15 would be like my max.
Okay.
so. Yeah, basically, I'd rather like see them do it through like a champ training event. I don't know, like make a 30,000 point champ training event or something just super high, where everybody would participate, but everybody could get it. Even if it was a high requirement, I think that was one of the biggest downsides of the Cold Heart skins. The Madam skin, even like you had to win the tournament, so 1 out of 100 people got the skin, and then you could buy it. So I think they should just make it more available to everybody. I feel like those situations just make them more money in general. I don't see how 2 or 3 people competing for something, or even 4 people, is the same as 100 people or 80 of those 100 people going for a skin. If they just make a super high event point requirement, so many people would go for it. I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. Just want to shout out the guys that are here. Nick, welcome to the stream. Being Useless, welcome to the stream. Thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, so I think if they did it as a champ training event, I definitely would go for the event. I think Artak is a great champion. And I think it'd be kind of cool to I think he'd be the only one to just not have a hand in the game, right? Being chopped off, but I definitely would go for it. As for purchasing skins, nah, I wouldn't do it. It's not worth it. I don't think it's beneficial for me for anything. I don't really care about my champions looking cool, if spending money is what it takes. But so I don't know about you guys, but I thought episode 1 was a little dark, especially where Jarec was put in front of the child and the mother, and I was like, if he does something like that, I'm done. Like, I'm not watching anything else. Like, I thought that, partially because I'm a parent, I've got kids, and so it takes a little spot on me. But I felt like that first episode was very dark for the beginning, at least. What about you, Jay?
Well, I like dark. That's why we're playing a dark RPG, right? Which is Raid. It has the word shadow in it. So I think they did a really good job showcasing the brutality of the orcs. They were getting, if you read the lore, you kind of see that they're kind of getting revenge in a way. But they were crazy with it. People were burning alive, right? Like in broad daylight when they were pillaging the whole place. They chopped. Well, they didn't really. You could tell they were chopping people. The dogs and the fellhounds and everything else were eating people. So it was pretty intense. I loved it. I think it was worth.
Yeah. for the most part, I think everything was good. I think like that little part just got a little too dark for me. Thule, what about you?
I personally don't think that's too dark of a step either way, to be honest. People killing people, and I mean, like, the whole scene is them pillaging the whole town and killing every man, child, and woman. Like, that's literally the scene that they portrayed with them coming in. So I don't think them going through and showing that Galek is actually willing to go through that. I don't think that's too extreme whatsoever. That's literally the opening scene that they put for the episode.
Okay. All right. I guess everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You could say, but then we kind of get into he takes off and he's out of there with the child and the mother. What were your feelings when that happened? Like, were you like, oh man, he just betrayed his clan, or were you like, hell yeah, let's go? No, we'll start with Jay first.
Definitely, it's a really big choice, right? So that's for a lot of people who didn't know that's the key word. To do something like that, mostly in clans or gangs, when you leave, that's a huge dishonor. It's the same thing without spoiling too much, episode 2. But yeah, that's a no-no. Usually it's death. It's you're exiled, right? You become an exile. They sometimes hunt you to death. They'll, for the rest of their existence, they'll look for you, like, because they don't want, like, it's a huge disrespect, right? But I think it was something like he wasn't, like, he was just doing it because of his father, like Artak and his clan, his pride. But like, it wasn't like, hey, do you want to do this? It was like forced upon him. He was like, whoa, I'm already supporting doing this, killing the Bannerlords and going through this, but now you want me to do this on top of this? So he was kind of like, with the whole arbiter like message, kind of rethinking himself, like, dang, like, is this really what I want as being an orc? Is this the right orc way? So he made a choice. And of course, we saw what kind of happened through all that. With the whole child and everything, I think it was kind of like his way to gain redemption. He was like, I feel like I've done so much wrong. Maybe this is my way of doing right. So that's why he took the baby and stuff like that.
Okay. Thule, what about yourself?
It's basically like, what's your end game here? Like, even if you've gotten this message, you've no idea where to go next. Why is this child the difference in the one 10 minutes ago? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, that was just like, where do you go from here, kind of thing.
That's actually a great question. So we haven't really seen Galek, or Galek, as we all know him, since episode 1. Granted, we're only into episode 2. Let's throw some conspiracy theories out there. What do you think is actually going on with him right now? Thule, what are your thoughts? Where do you think he currently is going to be in, like, episode 3?
In episode, I guess he's just gonna be traveling and probably trying to just make a camp somewhere, or like keep moving forward wherever forward is. I'm sure he's surrounded by a ton of orcs, and like he's gonna be hunted for a minute, so they'll be after him,
Okay. All right. Jay, what about you? What do you think he's up to? What do you think he's doing right now?
Okay, so I don't know if we, maybe it wasn't discussed, but I just kind of like wrap up something real quick. That child wasn't any normal child. So the father, the one that they exposed in broad daylight, that mother and father of the Bannerlords were important people. So that child is also important as well, because that dude, right, the dad, he started this whole like thing with Bannerlords and the Artax family in like lore in the past. So the mother was like, this is the last remaining like Bannerlord, and we're like we're known. So that's why they were doing that like public execution. So then that's where he was like, oh man, I got to make this choice, because this could be a very important. So of course, back to what I was saying about the child. Now, where's it going to be afterwards? I don't think we're going to see. We might see Galek in 3 and 4, but remember, it's going to be each. We might see Galek in 4. because we all know that elves and orcs do not have, they always have like this rivalry, right? In every RPG or something like that. And we saw with the whole dragon how Galek was like good riddance to like when Elhain got eaten by a dragon, right? In the campaign story. So yeah, maybe we'll see him back in episode 4, but in episode 3 is going to be, of course, Kael. So I don't think we're going to see him there, but like O'Toole said, most likely he's going to be, you know, Galek's going to be hiding or dealing with all this backlash of what he just did on episode 1.
Mm. Okay. So I mean, obviously, I think he's probably out in the hideouts right now. I'm probably guessing he's been with the Arbiter right now, or you know, we know that she's guiding him to make his choice. But I think right now he's probably on the hunt to find her, or as they called her, Goddess in episode 2, right? So I think he's probably on the hunt for the Arbiter and trying to, you know, keep a low key and hide from everybody else, because I don't think his father is going to be one of those one that just forgives and forgets. I think his father is going to treat him like basically the Bannerlords. You know, what he did to the Bannerlords is what I think he's going to do to his son if he catches him. Fresh Mail, welcome to the stream, man. Thank you for joining us. So then we move on, right? We see that the mother's dying. She got an arrow in her back. Now, what's funny, or not funny, but what I noticed is I never saw the arrow hit her back. They landed on the ground, and then when they come back to the scene is where you see the arrow in her back. So it like never, you know, nothing ever really clicked until like you see the blood and everything. And then we move on to him taking the baby. Now, at this point, did you guys have any ideas of who the baby was? Did you know it was baby Aethel? Did you just have some thoughts like it was one of the some other important champion in the game? Thule?
No, like when they just show the child for the first time, like there's no real like backstory. It's just like the guy and the mother and the child. Like there's no dialogue around them or anything. So like they just like you're just throwing and it's just assumed this is a random child, basically.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I didn't know who the child was, but I knew, I was like, damn, when they were executing the dude, and I was like, this child's important. Like, but I didn't know who. You know, no one knows. You know, it's just a child. We don't have child in Rage Shadow Legends, so. But it kind of like maybe like, oh, it puts everything together. Why the Arbiter was letting him make a choice. Why he was like, look, I'm gonna do this. This is important. You know, even chopping off his own father's arm and stuff like that. And like you said, he's not gonna forget that. You don't forget your arm's gone. So, but yeah, I was like, I was so stoked at the end. I was like, yes, because it was gonna be the second episode was gonna be her. I didn't know if she was gonna be episode 3 or 4. So I was like, yes. But it actually, without going too more, but you're probably gonna go further into episodes. So I'll talk more about that when we get to the ending of it.
All right. So that happens. Now we get to the scene where it's like the epic battle between father and son, right? And they're going at it. Now, I'm guessing by this point you guys have watched it a couple of times, right? Do you still have respect for Artak when he was knocked out the way he was by Gaelic?
I mean, I think it was just comedic relief put into the episode, to be honest. I don't think that part was meant to be like, oh, this is 100% how it happened and blah, 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 blah. Things. I think it was just a bit of comedic relief in the episode as well.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
I think it just showcased his passive. You know, he got the battle there. He got his max HP decrease, and then Galek just one-shot him.
Okay. I like that. So then we get the epic battle, and I think the fight scene was well put, well done. I probably would have liked to see it a little more hardcore between the two of them, right? And
he takes his arm off. How much more hardcore do you want?
Well, I mean, I'm talking
like chops the dude's arm off. Like...
Okay. In the cinema, I mean, a lot of their adverts, you see Gaelic like when he's sitting there with Zargala and he just like throws his flaming weapons and stuff like that. I figured like I'd see some abilities like that. Like, give me something that's in game already. And how's it going, Nugent? Thank you for joining us. And like, I was expecting something like that. I mean, we did see the axes start being on flame and whatnot, but then we get to the part where he chops the arm off, and I mean, for myself, I was taken back. I was like, whoa, that is real. that is some fatherly. I wouldn't call it love, but I don't know what you call it. When that happened, what was running through your mind, Jay?
Well, I was thinking daddy issues, but but mainly it was because Artek did not want to let him go. Right? He was like, "Look, you have to let me go. Like, I've already made this decision, and we've already just fought, and you're not stopping me. So if I'm gonna have to take it to the extreme to make this choice." And then that's what he didn't like. Not like the wanted to do it. He was kind of put in the position, and once again, he made a choice. So he had to do it. Was it the right decision? He probably could have found another way, maybe kicked his face or his head, but it was the quickest way because the orcs were coming towards the ship. So.
Yeah. Tuli, what about you? What were your thoughts when that was going on?
Committed now, buddy.
Committed now. Okay.
There's no coming back from that. You solidified your decision. Even if you like don't do that, you just like stomp his fingers off.
Yeah.
Take you back, kind of thing. You take his arm off. It don't matter what you do. So that's all.
Yeah. All right. So then, we see Galak dropping off the baby, and at this point in time, we're all kind of like, oh my god, who is this baby? And then we see what I feel like a lot of people were 50-50 of a mix, whether it was Godseeker and whether it was Sister Militant. Now, in the beginning, I did think it was Sister Militant, right? I did think that she was the one that was taking care of the baby. I was unsure, though, of who the baby is. What did you think of that scene? Tuli, we'll start off with you.
Well, where she drops the baby off?
Yeah, when he drops the baby off. Who did you think the baby was, and who did you think the person opening the door was?
I just thought it was just a random nun, something like that. So something like Sister Militant, yeah. And then the baby, just still no clue. Weren't given any more context around it. So
okay. Jay, what about you?
So yeah, the moment I saw baby, you see the Sacred Order symbol, you see the faction, you see a champion come out to pick up the baby. I was like, oh, that's Atzel. I just knew it. Now they reaffirmed that in the second episode, which we'll talk later. But I just kind of had a hint. I was like, oh shit, So, but I didn't think it specifically was Godseeker. It could have been Mother Superior. Could have been, like you said, Sister Militant. It could have been many different ones. It's not till the next episode we kind of get confirmation of who it actually is.
So I kind of went back and looked, right, and I was like, no way, it's got to be Sister Militant. And then I was reading some of the comments on the video that I posted, and somebody made the comment about the hand imprint on the face, and then I went back and looked at it, and I was like, okay, that totally makes sense that it's Godseeker. And I was like, all right. So then trying to figure out who the baby is, I kind of went in and then I was looking. I was like, all right, well, who could the baby be in this scene? And went back through and I was like, all right, this was before I even knew that the second episode was going to be about Aethel. I kind of went through and I was like, all right, it makes sense it would be Aethel. And one of my viewers pointed it out, saying this puts a whole new dynamic of Aethel and Galek playing snowball fights during the Christmas scene in Raid. So, overall, on the first episode, did it leave you with, other than general question of like who was the baby, who was the champion at the end, did it leave you with any other questions, any other wants, anything that you wanted answered? Jay, we'll start with you first.
The only thing none of that, because I already knew who it was. The only thing I thought was two things: where's Galek gonna go? Like where he's gonna travel, and I thought, what is the orcs gonna do now? Like, what's their next mission? What's their next goal? What are they gonna do? They got revenge. Are they gonna try to take over the rest of other faction? Like that's all I thought in my head. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thule, what about you?
Just kind of more of the overall end plan for the Arbiter, I guess, was more of it. Like, sure, she's getting all these people together, but how's she really gonna get this hodgepodge of people to work? As always, they'll find a way, I'm sure. But yeah, that's of course the first thing. Like, if Galek is barely able to escape his father, what can he actually do?
Yeah. Welcome to the stream, Time Twin and F. Welcome to the stream, guys. Thank you for joining us. So, for me, it was kind of like one of those where it's like, all right, like Jay was saying, the orcs got their revenge. Now, I don't remember if it said which city of the Bannerlords, whether it was the capital that they were raiding. Do either one of you two happen to know if it was the capital, if it was one of the other ones?
No.
I don't think they announced it. So I was kind of like, all right, well, if they're taking over, assuming that this is the capital, what's going to happen to them next? Like, are the Bannerlords wiped out? Are the Bannerlords going into hiding or what? But I feel like, it did leave me with a couple of answers going on what are the orcs going to do next, just like Jay was saying. So overall, on a scale from 1 to 5, if we're Rotten Tomato the episode, what would you give it, Thule?
6.5. Like,
okay.
At best. I feel like they didn't give enough backstory, enough like bait, you know what I mean, like for the next episode, and it's way too short for something that's been in production for years. I think it's like literally over 2 years in the making. 6-minute episodes is a joke.
Okay.
So 6.5.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, there's just too much. You have to go. Once again, we still have to go in the game and read, right, to find out more information, which is fine. I'm happy that it's in the game because I've been asking for years. But yeah, there's just too much. Like, how did they get there? Like, what about the feud? The reason why he's doing that public execution? Why did that happen? Like, there's just too much not in information. How did Galek and his father, like, what's the relationship? It just forced in, like, it's nice, but yeah, I'd have to give it, like, honestly, a 5 or 6. So yeah.
Okay. Myself, yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like it. I had Saffron on a couple of months ago, actually, and we were talking about it, and it was like they have to live up to what they've put out there. And episode 1, I mean, I think it was good. But have you guys, either one of you, watched Arcane?
Oh yeah, it's a full-blown series. Like,
so after the first episode, I made the mistake of starting to watch the episode because Saf recommended it to me at like 11 o'clock at night. I had work the next day at 6 in the morning. care to find out what time I went to bed after watching that first episode?
About 4:30.
About 6 in the morning. So I was hooked. Now, I don't feel like Call or the Arbiter did the same thing. I think it was good. I think it could have been way better. For myself, it's going to be a little harsh, but I'm going to go with a 4 just because I feel like it just didn't provide enough context for me. So, now, going up, we have week 2, right? We got episode 2, and we now find out that the child is Aethel. What were your thoughts? Were you expecting it to be Aethel? Thule, we'll start with you.
Well, the episode name is Aethel. So, yes.
Okay.
I was after that. Other than that, no, I guess not really. Like I said, there's no context leading up to it. Like they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you who the parents are. The only thing that you see is that they're in the Bannerlord faction, and they go to the Sacred Order. That's all you know about that child, all the way up until you see who it is, and they call her a name.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
What do you want me to answer?
Well, were you expecting it for the child to be Aethel at that point? Were you 100%?
I mean, there's only one Sacred Order of the 4 starters, right? So I hope that would be common sense.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, well, they show in the episode they show the same little horse that was in the first episode. You see the same horse in the second one. They say her name. It's in the title of the episode as well. So there's a lot of reasons that should be Aethel. But I don't know.
You
I don't
never
know if there's any other indicators.
Plarium can do anything nowadays. You know, you think one thing and then all of a sudden, boom, changed, gone. But okay, so then we open up and it's a fighting scene between her and Inquisitor Shamel. Now, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how you feel Shamel and her fit into the story. Like, I mean, I haven't seen or read any of the lore of Aethel, and I'm not going to pronounce her Athel. I don't care how much the writers want to pronounce it Athel. It's Aethel. It's always been Aethel. Don't like it. Too bad. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that dynamic relationship. Like, do you think they were just childhood friends? Do you think they were more? Was it just like the competitive spite, like I'm going to go against you and just trying to see who's better? We'll start it off with Thule.
He's definitely like her mentor kind of thing, but he's not a teacher. You know, they're in the same classes together, but he's definitely more advanced in on the technical side of a lot of things, especially combat. So he's definitely her mentor in that way, and then she just starts using cheat codes. So
cheat codes, okay. That brings me back. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, he's supposed to be like that. Like, I'm really, really good, and that you could become like me in the episode, and it makes sense too in game, right? Athel's a rare, he's a void epic, and people want to pull him. No one's pulling Athel, so it's kind of like that dynamic of he's supposed to be like this PvP / Hydra god. So she wants to be at his level, but she's training, and it's hard, right? You know, until eventually she gets blessed in a sense and realizes I'm capable of going even further beyond than Inquisitor Shamil, which was like already like known to be a really good warrior. So
yeah, so I feel like the dynamic between them was kind of like a big brother, little sister type thing where, you know, I'm the big brother, I'm always better, you wish you could be like me. I don't know if either one of you two have brothers, but I was the oldest, so for me it was always like, ha, look what I can do, you can't, you're smaller. So I feel like that's kind of the dynamic that they were going with and that they had. I kind of liked it. I felt like it was, you know, it provided some backstory on her. Was it the best? Probably not. But then we move into her talking with the Arbiter. It looked like it was in her dream where the Arbiter came to her in the library and kind of, I guess, awakens her power, right? And now she goes from level 1 to level 60 like this. And she starts using her magic. And apparently the magic aspect is kind of like a blasphemy, like you can't use it. It's all about physical endurance. What were your thoughts about that? We're like, well, why are they backing up? Why do they not want her to use her gifted abilities? Like, were you pro her doing that or against doing that? Jay, we'll start with you first.
Yeah, sometimes certain things will revert, like maybe like a certain faction or certain type of ideology will go backwards because they feel it's too powerful to keep going forward. Like kind of like how humans are now going with AI, and we might go even further to singularity. So I think what was happening was the Sacred Order already had stuff like that in the past. Something must have happened, and they were like, no, this is blasphemy, like, we have to go back, let's go like standard, and like you were saying, just like back in Sword and Shield kind of days, because they are in like dark, it's a dark RPG. So I think that's what it was. They didn't want her reading the old skill tomes or knowledge of magic and stuff like that, and when she started doing that, they were like, look, this is a dark sign, kind of like Luke Skywalker going to the dark side. So they were like, we don't want you doing this. So we want you to just be like natural, or I guess quotations normal to what the Sacred Order teaches. And since she was going against it, they didn't like that. I think it's perfectly fine. I need my skills fully booked. So if she needs to read to get cooldowns, and she was able to use her skill afterwards, right? So.
Okay. I mean, listen, epic, legendary and epic and rare books are a hot topic right now. But, I mean, let's just be glad she only needs rare books. Yeah, we'll move on from that. Thule, what about you?
So obviously she should be using it, because it's the only way that she's gonna get out of the situation she's in now, kind of thing. Is it right? She knows it's not quite right, but she doesn't really care. Right is always relative. Hey guys. My neighbor's going crazy. So yeah.
Okay. So my thoughts were, I feel like, it was her ability. She's got a blessed gift. She should use it, right? That's what she was given. That's what she should be able to do. Now, we kind of jump into a different part where the Godseeker is put on as the villain in this, and I was quite shocked. Now, I don't know any of the backstory. I don't know if it was released prior to any of this episode about the Godseeker, but I never imagined such a powerful epic champion that can allow you to two-man just about half of this content in the game to be so dark.
I don't think she's dark whatsoever. She's just following the rules. Like, there's rules for a reason. If you're not going to enforce your rules, why have them at all, kind of thing. So she's just the vice principal. You know what I mean? She has to give punishment down. Somebody has to.
Well, I think she's in charge of the Bannerlords at that point in time, or the Citadel where they're kept.
She's not totally in charge. She may be like the head figure, but I don't think she is in charge. I don't think she makes every decision regarding every single thing. Something like this would definitely be like a high council type situation where multiple people are like, yeah, no, magic's not good, man. Otherwise, anytime a new person comes into the Godseeker's position, you just have the same problem. We're like, oh, well, magic's cool again. Now magic's not cool again. So it's got to be something that would be continued through generations to not allow that to happen if you really want something like this to really go away. And that's how most worlds deal with that kind of situation, right?
Okay. I can see that. Jay, what about you? What were your thoughts about that part? Do you think the Godseeker was portrayed as the villain?
No way. Because she let her leave. If I was the God Seeker and I knew stuff was happening behind the scenes, and I'm supposed to be a God Seeker and making sure I have to make sure that I'm enforcing these rules, right? Like that, to protect not only the people, but maybe like if someone's corrupt, if they start learning magic, they could use it for bad, you know. So she was just trying to show Athel the right way, right? But at the end of the day, Galek made a choice. She had to make, Athel made her choice, and she was like, no, I want to do this, and I'm getting this message. It's calling to me. I got to do this. So she was like, all right. And remember, none of them are like her father and mother, so she doesn't really have to listen to them. They raised them, they taught her the ways of the Sacred Order, but she doesn't owe them anything. She's already helped them. Now, you could argue she's leaving, right? Like when she was leaving the commons, the rares, I forget their names, but most of the Bannerlord champions, uncommon rares, were like, look, Athel, if you're doing this is like punishable by death. We can't let you go, because then we're going to get punished by death. So they were trying to stop her, right? Like, because it's like, what she was doing. But at the end of the day, I don't know. She's not a villain. She was kind of like an aunt or like a like a O'Toole said, like a professor. Like they tell you, hey, this is what you gotta do, and if you want to do it, well, fine. But there is punishments for not doing it. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think for myself, like it just seemed like the Godseeker was very dark, very. She was definitely the evil, or the. I guess the protagonist of the episode, or she was displayed that way. So then we move into the part where Jay was just talking about, where Athel is told that if she leaves, that's it. She's gone. She's punishable by death. I guess a lot of lore from other medieval shows that have came up kind of have the same thing. So do you think that the Godseeker, if that had happened, would protect Athel, or would she just sacrifice her? Tuli, I'll go to you first.
I think she sacrifices her, to be honest.
Okay. Any particular reason why?
Why have rules if you're not going to enforce them?
Okay. Jay, what about you?
It's kind of hard. It's hard. So if the Godseeker raised her, right, and you raise a child, you normally don't want to take your child's life. But at the same time, it's kind of like what happened with Artak and Galek. He doesn't want to kill his son. He just wants to stop him from leaving. So it's kind of like the same situation. She tried to tell her to stop learning this magic. This, like, we've been there, done that, and we had to revert our ways. And you could see she wasn't wearing her Godseeker. She was in normal, like, Sacred Order, like, a Telerian, like, way, right? Just human. And maybe because time does change us, right? She could have been more like how we kind of expected her to be in game, but over time, maybe she became this way, right? And she became more aggressive, more assertive, dictatorship, like, hey, you got to do this or you're punished. So maybe she came like that over time, and she just didn't want Athel learning this magic that could have been bad. So if Godseeker would have been there when she was escaping, she would have still enforced it, because you have to. Otherwise, they would probably look at the Godseeker and be like, hey, you have no position. You're getting soft on us. You can't be our Godseeker, right? So she would have kind of been forced, I think.
Okay. Now, tinfoiled hats on. We're saying this was going to happen. Could you see the Arbiter stepping in and saving Athel? Jay, we'll start with you first.
No, she's not a. From what I'm getting, she can revive you, right? But she's not really a protector. Just the same way in game, she's not going to ally protect you. She might bless you with some turn meter, some buffs, and revive you when you're dead. But she's not going to. You yourself have to prove it, not only by making choices, but by the blessings she gives you. So you can be. So I would be the same way. Right? If I'm going to be a sensei and I'm going to teach someone, if I'm teaching them my skills, they have to earn it. They have to put the time, the effort, and everything else. So I don't think she would have intervened, which would have been kind of sad. But I think she was. All you need is a blessing from Arbiter, anyways. Think about it that way. So
my dog's got a tick on him. I got to get it off him. Sorry.
No worries. Okay. So I mean. The Arbiter does have a, 5-turn cooldown and revive, so I guess by episode 5 or 6, she could have brought her back. So, let's talk about what happens next for Aethel, right? So we find out that Aethel now is leaving. She's managed to get away, and where do you think she's going to end up next? What do you think in episode 3 she's doing behind the scenes? Jay, I'll go ahead and start with you.
This is interesting because we're not going to see her until Jizzo. Because if you look at the map of the campaign, the Bannerlord section, which is Karak Castle, it leads into Fushans, right? And then you lead into the Dark Elves, and then I think Mashalet and then Dark Elves. I forget I think it's Dark. Is it Dark Elves then Mashalet? But yeah, I think she might be. We might not see her till then. I don't think she's gonna intervene. I don't know if she's gonna be in Kyle's episode or maybe in Helheim, because technically the Telerians, which are Bannerlords, Sacred Order, High Elves, and Barbarians, are all part of the one. There's 4 separate factions, but they're all part of known as Telerian. So we might see her. Maybe Thel might come back with the Elhain episode, maybe, and Galek might come back as well, because we know elves and orcs have a thing as well. So maybe that. But I think it might be Jizzo, because maybe it may be related to the campaign in terms of the way the map works. But that is who knows? Like you said, Plarium could just flip it into. So that's a whole thing on its own.
Okay. Do you think it's possible that during episode 3, Galek and Aethel have met? Jay, I'll throw that to you. Tuli's a little bit busy right now, so right now it's a one-on-one.
You're right. Because I read the fan comics, which they're telling us it's no longer canon. There's a lot of information that happened in those comics. But basically, Kyle was portrayed as a douche. He didn't care. Even he told the Arbiters, like, look, I'm not doing this, and I'm only doing this because I know that you can kill me. Like, you're that powerful. But and he lets the Arbiter know, I'm going to eventually be more powerful than you. And like, and he warns her that, right, in the comics. But he's like, I'm gonna do this because if the world's gone, well, I'm gonna die too, because I'm part of the world. So that's the only reason why he's forced to do it. So maybe they all do come together. Maybe they kind of Galek and Athel meet. But remember, Galek, when he gave her, she was a baby. It's been like 15 years. Right? So there would have to be lots of time that happened in between. It's just there's this time constraint that's letting me wonder, what was Galek doing all this time? Was he doing stuff with Kyle behind the scenes? Is there something else that's happening? So there's too much. But maybe. I don't think we're gonna see. I think each episode's gonna be their own specific champion, because the starter character, they want to really focus on their lore of how they're coming into the scene for Call of the Arbiter. Then afterwards, I think we're all going to see them on episode 5 with Jizzo and everything else. We're going to see all of them collide and work together.
Okay. I think there's a good likelihood that Galek has been keeping an eye on Aethel and is probably looking, from above, as a big brother, trying to watch out for her. And I think, there's a distinct possibility that there's something brewing in the background that we may not be told. Now, as we kind of go through and we see what's going on, we are now coming into episode 3, where it's going to be Kale, not Kyle. I don't care what the guy who gets paid thousands of dollars to narrate and talk about the what's next in Raid. It's Kale. That's how the community pronounces it. And that's okay, Julie. Do what you got to do, man. So I feel like that is right. Let me get back on track. Sorry. So at this point now, Kale comes in, and as you mentioned, I mean, he looks like he's a very arrogant, cocky type person. What do you expect is going to happen in episode 3? I mean, they did drop the teaser trailer, which is roughly about 30 seconds, so just add an extra 3 minutes and you get the full episode. What do you think is going to happen in the next episode?
I don't think they're going to portray him as they did it in the comics, so he might be a little bit more... From what it seems, it might be a little bit more sadder story. Instead of making him a douche, they might make it kind of like Galek, where it's like he has to make a choice, kind of like that, but not like that. Maybe it has to do with love, and he's kind of like, maybe he was like, well, I'm gonna join the arbiter, like her call, to get back at something. Maybe it could be a revenge story. Like Galek's was more of a choice when they were doing the revenge, but maybe his will be like, I want to get back at someone for, maybe like a lost love or something, because that's what it seems like. And there also, I've noticed there might be 1 or 2 champions that they're not champions, or they eventually will become, but characters I've never seen ever before. So I wonder if that's going to be in his episode or later on. But that's what I think so far, is that something's going to happen to him, super like emotionally or like messed up, where he's like, I'm going to join the arbiter. I got to make up for this. So.
Okay. So do you think he's going to do the same that both Ethel or Aethel, sorry. I keep calling her Ethel because that's what they call her in the show, but I really, really need to break that habit. Do you think it's going to be a lot like Aethel and Gaelic's story, where he betrays the Dark Elves? Because I do think, like, the scene that they showed, he's going in for, I believe, Queen Eva or something in the episode. So do you think there's a possibility of that happening?
Exactly, because Queen Eva is actually not supposed to be a villain, right? Normally, like most of these bosses we know in the campaign are not villains. They get corrupted by the shadow. So once she becomes corrupted by the shadow, she becomes Queen Eva, like her dark elf self. So yeah, maybe he was maybe like a worker for her, or like a maybe like a caster for her, like one of her like side people, and then something happens where he's like, oh, what's it?
A spellbound?
Yeah, like someone like that, like, and something happens to her and he's like, nah, I can't do this. Like I'm gonna have to, in a way, like you said, it's gonna be because basically every character has been betraying their own faction in a way, right? So maybe it might be something like that where he's like, look, I was doing this for the, maybe the possibility of becoming a better caster or because of the Dark Elves, but you've literally just changed. I can no longer follow the Dark Elves if you're going to be like this, right? Because she's corrupted. So maybe that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, I think they've kind of already given us the lore for the first 2. I think they're going to probably follow the same thing. And if they're not, if they wanted to change it, they couldn't change it anyways, but I think they're going to follow the same thing. They're gonna try to leave it where they have like a sour taste in their mouth for their race, and they feel betrayed. So I think that's a fair a fair assumption to go with. So, Rotten Tomatoes, this episode, episode 2 for Ethel. What are your thoughts, Jay? Happy, sad, okay, not okay? Where would you put it?
Well, Ethel was one of my favorite characters. Like, I started with her, right? So I was super stoked when I knew her. She was going to episode 2. I was like, yes. And I didn't know she was a Bannerlord. Who would have known? Like Ninja, right? We all thought it was a Shadowkin. Well, he was originally a Bannerlord. So it was just, it blew my mind because if you kept track with Ninja's lore, but whatchamacallit. So with Ethel being like a Bannerlord original, I was just like, whoa, because I've done fan stories for her as well, and it blew my mind. Like, I was just like so happy that I was like, okay, this is how she has the 3 swords. It has a lot of tie to do with me as a person and my ideologies. So I've always loved Ethel, the whole. She doesn't use shield and sword. She uses spear, which is different. I've always been like a paladin crusader kind of person. So and they show those spears in the episode as well. So you see her fighting and learning with them. So it makes sense why she uses it in game. Overall, what do I think of the episode? I wish they went a little bit more like when she was a kid, like maybe when she was like 5, 10, and then we got to see her fight, like training with Inquisitor Shamil. So I wish there was a little bit more, but I guess they said the player was like, what is it gonna matter if we show as a little girl like learning? I just wanted to, that's just more of like a fan thing. So I guess overall I'd have to give it a 7. I feel like there would have been a little bit, if we would have learned a little bit more about the Sacred Order, maybe just a little bit more overall. But I think it was a good episode. There was contrast. There was all these different things happening, different characters, and even though it felt still short and kind of rushed like episode 1, I think it was a better overall. Because since we had a little bit more information, since we already knew that it was going to be a baby and that's who it was, Ethel. But every other character, there wasn't like, we didn't get more information about Godseeker or all the other characters. I just feel like it would have been overall more deep. Hopefully after this limited series, they give us something longer, but who knows?
Okay. I'm gonna have to read his lore fully on later, but I didn't know that he was Bannerlord. So for myself, I feel like it was again, I think it was better than the first episode. It was a little more darker, but not too dark. It was, I when I look at these episodes, I look at them and I'm like, okay, I understand that their fan base is people between the ages of 21 to 40 and over, because that's who could basically afford to play this game if you play and pay to win. But I look at what's currently out there and saying, okay, well, is this something I would want my child to watch? So I feel like it's not too dark. I think it was good. Again, very short. We should really be way more into the character right now. We should have way more lore into him. I would probably, I think I'd stay with like a 4 on this one. Again, it's just because I'm holding it to Arcane and how well those episodes did. And just like, again, I'm not a fan of the overall graphics of the game, of the series. Neither was with Arcane, but the storyline from Arcane pulled me in and wanted me to have more. I didn't feel the same with these episodes. Like, it's not leaving me wanting more. It's not like I need to go and watch the next episode right now. So I guess next week we'll have episode 3. We'll go through that. We'll give our thoughts and opinions. And the only good thing I guess that we've gotten from these 2 episodes is Artak. Now, I've done a couple of gods on my channel. Have you done anything on yours yet with Artak, Jay?
I'm just building him out slowly. I gotta get him fully booked and stuff like that, but not too much crazy stuff.
Okay. So I actually did a couple of guides on him, not using him booked. Not that I don't feel he's needs the books, that he won't be a good candidate for the books, but I feel like if you put him in Relentless set, his basic for an endgame account, what he's going to do is just basically Hydra. I'm not going to use him on my Spider team or anything like that. I already have my Spider team set. And as we all know, legendary books are kind of hard to acquire. I did a video on it yesterday, and you know, a lot of people feel the same sentiment on the books. So I feel like he's definitely a great champion overall. If you have the books to book him, and he's going to be, you know, your Spider champion or your solo campaign farmer or your solo dungeon farmer for like stage 20 of Dragon and not Fire Knight, but Ice Golem, I definitely feel like he might be he's definitely a good candidate for that. Now, on a scale from 1 to 10, from every login that we've gotten, every champion that Plarium has given us for free, where would you rank him? Would you think he's top, mid-tier, or would you think like he's like the best one? Like, I view Ninja as the best.
So Ninja's insane for speed farming, but if the best overall, he'd honestly be the best, because Ninja's squishy. You get one champion who can be built as a tank, who can also be built as a damage champion, who has multiple AoEs. Ninja only has one AoE, and Ninja's AoE does not nuke. They reduced the multiplier to 3 instead of 4, because otherwise Ninja could have been nuking on his A3, but it doesn't. The Artak actually has decent multipliers. He gets free crit damage. Now the whole him losing like damage and then getting it's so weird, because it's like, why do they put that mechanic in if it just balances out, right? Because we know that champions, that when they lose their max HP, they lose damage because their damage is based on their HP. But the player was like, we're gonna give you this passive that kind of makes up for it, so as you go down. But they could have just made I guess it was their way to, like, they don't want to change the coding for all HP champions or something. But what they could have done, like Taras, right? People have done videos about how Taras, when he comes into a battle, it's his curse HP is the moment he gets in battle. It doesn't matter if you decrease max HP at Taras, he's still gonna have the same damage. That's so broken, but whatever, they don't consider it a bug. He's just the fierce, and he's just that good. But yes, I think he is the best because he has multiple AoEs. You can use him in stun sets. You can actually use him in Relentless. He's really strong. I put him in Relentless too. And you know me, I don't like to go crazy Relentless on all my champions, but he just pops off. He goes insane in Relentless. Plus, he's also putting decreased attack, which means what? He can solo. He's also a solo champion. If you need a regeneration champion that can solo content, he can do that. You know, it's so much in one kit that he can do that even Ninja can't do, right? Like, I mean, Ninja does it better in terms of against a boss because he gets that passive where he gets stronger and stronger, which means he's going to be faster for speed farming. But overall, if I had to choose between Ninja and Artak to give to a new player or to any player, I'd give them Artak.
Okay. I mean, I feel like he's definitely... I can't give him the number one spot. I really can't. And mostly because Ninja is someone you can use in every area of the game. Whether it's PvP, PvE, Doom Tower, Clan Boss. I mean, we know he's like one of the best Clan Boss champions out there. You can use him in Hydra. You can use him in Sand Devils, you can use him in any dungeon farming team. He's going to be speed farming. Artak isn't, though. Artak, because of his passive, is going to be, I feel, limited to basically, you know, you can't use him on Clan Boss because you're not going to be able to speed tune him. You can use him in Hydra, no problem. You can use him in Doom Tower, no problem. You can use them in some of the dungeon runs, you know, for soloing stuff until they fix their passive with whatever they're going to do. We don't know yet. but and he'll be great for faction wars. But I don't think he's. I still feel if I had a vote into what champion they should give out again, whether it be Artak or Ninja, I would say Ninja, 100% Ninja. He is an account changer. Like he just does so much for it. Again, not to knock on Artak, I think he's a great champion, but I feel like overall usage, overall utility, Ninja is better than Artak. So, now, we've talked about the Arbiter, Call of the Arbiter, we've talked about Artak. I want to get into this Forge Pass because I've been rattling my brain about this new set, right? This new righteous set that we have. And I don't know about you, but 10 speed, 40 resist, okay. The thing is, and I may be wrong, but resist is no longer the meta. You're not going to use it in arena because of polymorph. And for PvE purposes, if you're fast enough, you don't really need to worry about resistance because you're taking 2-to-1 turns or 3-to-1 turns. So there's very limited uses of places you would need resist. And so I feel like this set, it's, I would grade it towards like beginner to mid-game set. Nothing that an end game or late game player. I mean, maybe some late games players could use it, but more of an end game. I think this set is just CVC points. What about you? What do you think?
I think it's amazing. Because it does everything a speed person needs. If you don't need speed and act, which we already have perception, you need the opposite, which is speed and resist. They go together. Anybody that I'm building fast cannot be debuffed with decreased speed or some sort of stun, because then what's the point of them going fast? They're going fast for a reason, so they can cleanse, so they can revive people, so they can give buffs, turn meter, increase. So it's basically perception. It's just the other version of it. So if you don't need act, you need resist. So I think it's just as good in retrospect to perception. So if you use a lot of perception sets, you're probably going to use a lot of this set as well. Now, for end game players, of course, you already have everything done. But for people, if you've ever seen I've done videos on Iron Twins and Doom Tower, how resist is so OP. You don't even have to think. Your champions don't get debuffed. You don't get the Iron Brand debuff anymore. But when people just use one comp, right, like Seer or Rajguard, Helicath, Geo, you don't really learn all the different things you can do in the game. Resistance is a super powerful, super strong stat. You can literally, things will take longer, right, because you're not putting as much damage. But if you can't progress something, this is a super powerhouse medium mid-range to like late game account. Righteous is super insane. This is why most people, when they do their Great Hall, they either go right to left, right? So they go act, resist, crit damage, defense, all the way to HP, or they do a skip. You do skip, right? You do accuracy, crit damage, and then you go to either attack or defense depending on your champion. So those are two main ways that I always tell people, because they're that strong. So you either go damage and act, or you go act and resist. So you don't have to worry about, I don't have the right 6-star banner. I can't get full masteries. Well, now you're getting a set that gives it to you because you couldn't get, maybe you don't have enough gems, or you can't do Minotaur enough because you don't have enough energy, or just too many champions to all fully master. So yeah, it's an amazing set. I've been thinking about holding on to spend it. I want to buy it, but it's still RNG. You got to use the right charms and stuff like that. But I think it was necessary for the game, in my opinion. So.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. I'm just sitting here looking at this while you were talking, thinking to myself, like, this looks like a Pokeball. I'm literally, gold, white, just looks like a Pokeball. So yeah, I mean, again, for PvP purposes, I don't think, unless you're building maybe a Resist Kaimar or a Resist Yumiko, it's really going to work. Resist is not the meta for Plat Arena or Endgame Arena. Like, it's not going to work. The thing, I mean, if you wanted to make it comparable to the other sets, first, I feel like it should be 12 speed if you're going to make it better than the speed set, right? Or if you want people to buy it and use it and be viable for the end game, I feel like it should definitely be a speed, 12 speed, right? We've had other sets in game that are currently at that same level, right? You have, what is it? Divine Speed, which is 12 speed. But I guess, you know, then it could be said that Perception will be left behind. You know, because Perception only gives you 40 accuracy and 5 speed. Now, between Speed, Perception, and Righteous, what would you say is the best set?
Between Perception and what else?
Speed and the Righteous set. What would be the one set that you would want to go after?
Well, everybody goes Perception. 85% of the champions in this game require Perception, accuracy, and speed. The next best set would be Righteous, and the next best set would be Speed.
Okay. Hey, Pogo, welcome to the stream, man. Thank you for joining us. See, I would say, yeah, I guess Speed would be first, and I feel like Righteous would be last for me. Righteous is not really, again, the resist part is where it gets me. I just don't feel like resist is needed in game, especially because we just don't use it. There's very limited uses for it unless you're just building like a full Hydra team with just resist. So now that said, because they released Righteous, and Righteous is 10 speed, Perception is 5 speed, do you think Perception should be buffed to the same level?
No, because the value of accuracy is higher than the value of, like, resist is still strong, but like if you're resisting, there has to be a purpose. Accuracy is so important in the game. Like I said, 85% of champions require accuracy. I could resist your debuffs, but if I don't place mine, then what's the point of my champion? If I'm all, you know, I could be I'll give you an example. I have an Oella, right? She only needs accuracy on her A1, but if that's the most important thing you're going to use her for, you don't have to build her high ac. You could build her high resist because her kit gives you resist. Did I still build accuracy on my Oella? Of course, because I wanted to synergize the decreased speed of her A1 and the Terminator boost of her A3 or A2, right? And then the whole increased resist she gives. Now I'm not only boosting people, but I'm also slowing people down, which makes, it's kind of like a baby Lady Kimmy with increased resist, kind of like that, on a single target, right? So yes, this is why I would still value Perception higher than Righteous. And why should Perception go up by 5 more speed? No, you're getting 40 accuracy, which is a lot of ac. We don't need people.
But it's 40 resistance.
No, well, yeah, but you'd still get 10% speed versus 5. That's why they balanced it out. If it was 5% speed and 40 resist, then Righteous would need a buff. But Player actually, you know, in a way, kind of did a good thing here by giving you a choice. You're like, well, I go a little bit faster, I don't get ac, but I get resist. Or you go a little bit slower, but you get the most important stat, which is ac. So you have to make a choice here. But it's in my opinion, they're both really strong. They're really, really strong. If you're trying to make it 12% on Righteous to just be the same as speed set, Player wouldn't do that. Why? 2 reasons why they wouldn't do that. Who's gonna do freaking Dragon Rens anymore? They're just gonna wait and buy the Forge Pass and try to find Righteous packs in the shop and just go for that, right? If that were the case. But I think it's a good balance to keep it that way so people still keep going for speed. And in terms of divine speed, let's be honest, if you're super lucky or you get good rerolls, cool. But divine speed, I barely get any good shit out of that because it's always 5-star gear. Yeah. It's always, they need to take away that 5 out of arena. People have been saying this for years in the content creation program. Like, look, if I'm gold 5 or I was in plat and I got knocked down, I shouldn't be getting 5-star gear. Like, it's just trash. Come on, like.
Yeah, I agree. But the rates of drops are a whole different video within itself, or a whole different segment within itself for us. So who would you think, off the top of your head, would be a perfect candidate for this set? Who would be your like number 1 pick?
That's a good one, man. There's a lot of champions actually that can use it. I would say pretty much the top 2 champions, or top 2 archetypes, right? Which I always tell you, if you're going to build speed, you're going to build speed resist, or you're going to build ac. So it would have to be on revivers, or it would have to be on champions that have high base resist. Very high base resist, you know? You can get some really good value if they have high base speed and they have good resist stats at level 60. Those are the champions you want to put it on, because then you don't have to go 800, 1000 resist on those champions. You can start then getting them higher defense and HP since they already have high resist. You can go that way, you know? That's the only 2 things that I could say, and I could see why people might be like, well, then they're not OP. You can put it on anyone technically, but it's just, it all comes down to the substats of the gear, right? And it also comes down to what the champion, their base stats. That's how I would figure.
So you still didn't answer the question. Who would be a particular candidate for you? Which champion?
Okay, well, now you're saying my opinion of which champion. Of course, because overall it could be any champion, right? I said revivers. There's like 20 revivers. But if it's a specific champion, I'm going to go for Arbiter. Because I need my Arbiter to go faster. I'm still 360. I'm not even 370. There's people 400. Like, I'm still getting outsped sometimes now in Gold 5. So it's like people are just always getting faster with artifact ascending gear, right? With people getting better rolls. There's super raids, so people are able to put way more energy than I can into Dragon. People are buying all these they're buying every single forge path like instinct sets so they can get more speed out of there. They're getting, now there's righteous, they can buy that, get more speed. So it's like, damn, I always trying to keep up with at a certain speed level. So I was like, damn, that's why I kind of feel inclined to get it. But yeah, I would build it on any, like I said, champions that can revive, champions that have high base speeds, high resist, and want. Those are the champions you need to put it on. My favorite one that I would put it on right now, other than Arbiter, I mean, probably would be a high resist champ that I don't have. I mean, Orwella is probably one of my highest ones, but that's not, like you said, that's not a real. I already have all my teams set up, already built with certain, like, decreased accuracy debuffs. They already have the good resist you need, the masteries, and with Orwella, increased resist. So I don't really need the set to specifically go, well, I'm just gonna throw it on this champion. You know, I'm different when I gear my champs. I don't just do it just because of set, right? I do it because of the stats. Now the set is just an added bonus that I could be like, oh, well, maybe I can finally give my champion 100% crit rate now in Righteous that I couldn't do in a normal speed set. So if that were to come out, but at the end of the day, it all just comes out to what are the main stats and substats to a gear.
Okay. Yeah, I feel I'm really struggling because I don't feel like there's anything in particular that I would really want to put him on. You know, Stone Skin is better. Untouchable, better. You know, speed is no longer the meta, and I guess it's my mentality of like endgame arena where it's like I don't need to go fast anymore. I want to go slow, tanky, Stone Skin, immunity. For my go second team, I don't need to be the 400 speed anymore. Isn't going to really matter on an Arbiter because really don't build it that way anymore, or at least in Plat Arena. Some people still do. Some people actually just build their Yumikos with like 400 speed and like 600 accuracy which I wish I could get mine. I think mine's sitting at like 370 speed and like 450 accuracy on my Yumiko. But so just a heads up, Jay, if you see my Yumiko team, don't go up against it because I will lock you out. So
well, maybe then righteous to counter the fact that you only have 400 accuracy, and even though you go first, right after you lock me out, I'd have that resist from the righteous to then reset with Kaimar and then actually win.
Okay, I could see that. But do you have a Kaimar?
Yeah, you know I have a Kaimar.
So let me ask you, do you think, because lately they've been pushing a lot of resist champions on us. The last fusion Owella was a resist champ. Now with this set, we have a resist set. Is there a possibility that they could come up with a champion a lot like Mithrala that does damage based on resistance? Do you think that's possible, Jay?
Well, there's a champion that gets bonuses from resist, but damage, that's kind of weird. It would be like a Healer / Mithrala mixed. Because Healer gets bonuses for resist, and there's other champions that do get bonuses for their resist, but not damage. That would be a unique thing, and if that champion did exist, well, then resist would be meta again, because Taras does not get value out of resist. Imagine a champion who could, like my Taras gets debuffed. He gets controlled. I can't do damage, right? But if there's a champion that actually can never get debuffed because he's got like 1,000+ resistance and he's also hitting you as hard as a Taras, that's retarded, right? You can never debuff them. You have to have unresistible debuffs that say this cannot be resisted or blocked. And then that changes the whole meta to have, now you have to have those specific champions that have those skill kits just to get past, or you got to bring increased accuracy. It does change a lot. So I don't know if they'll ever, that's an interesting one, you know, bringing high resist like that. I think they would do more accuracy, right? Like where you have, if I have over 600 accuracy, I can do this much bonus. If I have over 800 accuracy, I can do this much bonus. If I have over 1,000, I think they would first do that first, because now they're sheep in the meta and they want you to get RNG'd, right? But then afterwards, maybe in the future after that, then they would probably slowly go to the resist.
Okay. So resist damage dealers, you don't think that's a likelihood of happening, which is good, I guess, because I've seen some accounts that I think one of my clanmates has a 400 speed Kaimar with almost 1,200 resist. So imagine, you know, building something like that. Imagine building something like that.
And you're saying resist not meta?
Well, I mean, that's only if he goes up against warlords. Literally, right now, unless you have a Taras or Marichka, you're not doing anything. You know, you're really kind of just like, you're just like, okay, well, let me see if I can place. But it's the Taras and Marichka thing or where it's at. So I guess that's it for today's stream. I think we're gonna end it off here. We've discussed a lot. We've discussed the episodes, the battle pass, not the battle pass, but the forge pass, and we talked about Artak. Anything interesting happened to you throughout the week, Jay? You want to let the community know? Anything going on?
Oh yeah, I pulled the Ethos instead of the freaking new champion Grazer. I pulled the Ethos instead during the 10x, and it was during my Mercy. I was like, oh, I might get this champion. I might actually get him. Instead, I pulled Ethos. I was like, are you serious? But people were like, Ethos is actually good. I was like thinking about it. I was like, actually, he's going to speed farm my Doom Tower like progressing up the floors and hard, I was already using Baron, but now I can use Baron and him and do even faster, because everything's about making faster once you're end game, right? We want to spend 3 to 4 hours. I want to only spend 30 minutes. When I go play Street Fighter Duel, which is another gacha, I spend 20-30 minutes at most and I get off. I want to be able to do that in Raid where I don't have to do like sit there for 2 to 4 hours just to do all my keys, all my like, oh, it's just too much. So the faster I can make it, the better. So I was like, wow, I might actually use Ethos. But when it comes to like other content like Arena, well, maybe Live Arena, I might use them. I know we didn't mention that much, but like I was gonna really, you know, just let people know, just because it might not be meta in Plat does not mean people are not using it heavily in PvE or Live Arena. Things are different there and in tags. So
that is true.
Yeah, so but yeah, for me personally, a lot of things have happened actually physically to me, which is crazy. That's a whole nother spectrum, but I'm doing okay. I'm gonna go be seeing a doctor on Tuesday for everything else that's happened. So other than that, I pulled Ethos. I think I pulled someone else too. Oh, another Dracomorph, a third Dracomorph, but that's pretty much it.
Poor baby, a third Dracomorph. Put him in your clan boss team. Maybe you can one key now. So for myself, I mean, it's just been a normal week. I've been really busy with work, regular life, and you know, my asthma has been kicking my rear end. So I haven't been as active as I wanted to be. I'm sure everybody's seen that. So much appreciation to anybody out there who has stuck through. And I know a lot of you guys have sent me messages asking me if I'm okay. So I definitely appreciate that. And shout outs. Jay, you got a shout out this week?
This is someone I shouted out before, but man, I gotta shout out him again, because he's been putting in some heavy work, just doing only Live Arena, free-to-play showcase, and now he's starting to show champion spotlights or guides, and that is Boozer on YouTube.
Okay. Mine's actually gonna go to HWZ. I mean, behind the scenes, you've helped me a lot in content creation. You know, we talk on a weekly basis about a lot of stuff. Saf has helped me. Saffron Man has been helping me out when I first started on. But HWZ, man, he's been doing his homework on a lot of things, and he's very knowledgeable about content creation, about how to become better, and he's been spreading that knowledge. So my shout out's going to go to him. You know, much appreciation. I can't wait to meet this guy. I really hope that, you know, we do get to meet. I know that he was up in this area a couple of years ago. But me and him, if we ever meet up, it's going to be a fun time. So as always, guys, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. And we'll catch you guys on the next stream. All right.